Today I'm going out to find some leaves to paint so that we can use the real thing to do some ink and wash. Let's get started. Oh yeah, and then somebody roars by in their car. This is my first stop, and I chose this one because of the way the leaves are drying from the outside in. It's right next to a highway that goes right through the middle of town. That's why you hear traffic. I'm going to just clip a couple of these and take them home. I've decided probably the easiest way to do this, as they're all going to go on the same page. I'm going to have to change their sizes so they won't be exactly right, because we have ones like this that are, you know, as big as my hand, and then others that are so much smaller. So what I want to do is first just do some sketches with pencil, and then I'll go over them with ink, and then we'll paint them in. And the reason I'm doing this is because one thing is I haven't used this paper before. It's new. It's hot press, so it's nice and smooth, and it is watercolor, but it probably will curl a little bit, so we'll deal with that when the time comes. But I want to just get the details down and, you know, make a kind of an arrangement. So I'm going to concentrate on that and intersperse my adventures with actually getting these leaves, which was more challenging than I expected. So for these, I'm just doing basic sketches. I'm not going to put in all the little jiggy-jaggy things because I can do that after. And I'm using just a plain 0.5 millimeter lead pencil. I am not aiming for perfection in shape, so if it turns out that I've got it wrong, that can be corrected at the time I put the ink on. And also I like to do a little stylizing. I think this tree is a weeping birch, and I love the soft leaves with the jagged edges. So I'm going to add it to our collection. Now this one I think is the weeping birch. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. It also has these little tiny cones. So I thought I would include one of those or two. So perhaps what I'll do is just do a couple of leaves from here and then put the little cone on. Just looking more at the shape of the leaf rather than the frilliness of it. Here's my next tree. I don't know what this is, but I could probably find out. But I love the bark and all the textures and colors, and you can even see drips of sap here. But what I really love is the color of the leaves. So I'm just going to cut a couple and then we can reproduce it in watercolor. Actually, I don't even know what this leaf is, but they're in bunches, tight bunches. This tree is a ginkgo, and they have what I think of as backwards leaves, but they are so cute. As I said, my aim is not to make them perfect, it's to make them interesting. This is a ginkgo leaf, as is this one, so you can see how they have a little bit different shape, and I think they're so interesting. And then we have this massive maple tree, which spreads out. It's just incredible. In our little town, which gets lots of water, they just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. I have a big maple leaf here, which is enormous. Let's tackle this guy, and I'm going to have to make it quite a bit smaller, obviously. This Japanese maple was hard to reach. I had to jump, but I think it was worth it because they're so beautiful. Now this one is a Japanese maple, and it has these beautiful little wings. So I think I'm going to just do a leaf and a wing or two. Here's the tree I've chosen, and I've chosen it because it's just so fun. It's beautiful, covered with these little red balls. And it's a Japanese dogwood, which has small, pointy petaled, four-petaled flowers in the springtime. And now this one, which I think is so pretty, has these little fruits on it. I'm going to start with the little ball. The leaves flip up until they get heavy enough that they can't. There's the rough sketch, and you can see I'm going to ink them all in, and then I'll come back and we can start painting. So just a quick comment here. You can see here as I ink this in that I'm really not being very precise. My goal is to make it fast, also to make it artistic. That's open to your interpretation, but what I'm looking for is a beautiful look, and that isn't necessarily a thing of perfection. So I'm going back to my leaves here and just looking at them. Let's look at this one, how it's got jags with little jags on them. So I'm going to try to capture that without too much fuss. The trick with drawing is to really concentrate on drawing what you see, not what your mind thinks you see. So sometimes when people think leaf, they all look the same. Before I start on the leaves, I'm going to put down a background color. And the reason I'm doing the whole thing is because all the leaves are dark enough that they can, when I put the green on, or the color, whatever the color is, you're not going to be able to see the blue through it anyway, but it will give us a background. Okay, this is nice and dry. To be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time painting on hot pressed paper, but it's lovely for drawing. So I'm using this little palette that I ordered actually from Temu, I think, that already has this gray in it that I need for the edge of the leaf. So it's a bit like this gray and maybe this green, and I'm just going to try that. Wow, that's very close. A little bit of green, this gray green, sage green kind of color. Yeah, that's very good, isn't it? Okay, well, let's make a little bit bigger puddle just so I have enough volume, because once you mix a color, you don't want to have to go back and mix some more because you didn't mix enough. So for this one, I'm just going to kind of go around the edges where it's got these dried edges. And this paint is a little bit opaque, so I'm trying not to get onto my black too much. But I'm also not trying to make perfection here. I think if you've watched any of my previous painting videos, you'll know that perfection is not my goal. I'm going to leave that to dry because this dark green is going to go on there, but it's if I put it on while this paint is still wet, it's just going to run right into it and obliterate it. Okay, so I'm going to try to match my colors. So this is these leaves. Before I do that though, I think I'll put a little bit of veining in there because it does look quite nice. So all the veins go out from the middle to the edge. That adds a lot. See, that's just a little detail that you can actually draw in, and suddenly you've got that color. Now for this color here, I'm going to use one of these, I think. And again, you know my rule, always try it. That is very close. It's also quite dark, but that's okay. So I'm going to just try and pick up as much color as I can. And these are the Kuretake paints, and they're quite a bit like gouache. But see how it's behaving with the paper? Went on quite thick there, lots of water, so it kind of repelled a little bit. And I'm leaving a little bit of space so that the veins can be seen. Because it's kind of opaque, it's showing up as just covering them right up. So I'm going to pull some of that paint off there so that we can see the veins a little bit better. The stems are kind of dark green or dark red, so I'm going to find one of those. Not that. A little bit of purple? No, I don't think so. So to make a red more brown, you have to add green. So then we get this. So I'm just going to make them really thinly with this tiny brush. Try not to be too messy. And then my little cone is buried here somewhere, but it's kind of a similar color. Maybe a little bit more like this. Yeah, it's a little bit darker, I think. There. There's that one. This one is the dark red one, which is here. How amazing is that color? Now, to find that one, what am I going to do? I am going to use a magenta as a starting place. Can you see that? Let's just do it like that. That's our starting place. And then I'm going to try, this is pure experimentation at this point, because this one is cobalt violet. Wow, that's very violet. This one is imperial violet. Let's see what the difference is. Oh, wow, that is amazing. I think that's our one. So, get some of this, put it in with the magenta, and then to darken it up, I'm going to put in some Hooker's green, which is probably not the right green to use, but wait, I have another green. This is Sap Green Deep. I think I'm almost there, but where's my little card? Well, that's almost gray. It needs to be a little more red. Alizarin crimson. There we are. Alizarin crimson. So I'm going to start over in another patch here. Use this purple and use this alizarin crimson. Yeah, and a little bit of this greeny stuff. And that's going to be my color. And on this one, it's really hard to see the veins because there's so much the same color as the leaf. I'm cooking supper as I do this, and it's starting to smell good. So I'm adding beef to my soup and some black beans. So it's not going to be so much mulligatawny anymore, but I wanted to make lots so that I can have a few meals out of it, because I don't know about you, but I'm really tired of cooking supper every night. So I do myself a favor and give myself a night off by cooking 3 suppers in one night, and then I can freeze some and have them on hand for nights when there's just no way to cook. I'm going to go back to this one now, and this green, because it's quite a dark green. Let's see, it is a dark green, but I want something, let's see, let's just make our own puddle over here. And I want to make it a little bit darker, so I'm going to pick up this purple and put some of that in it. It kind of dulls it. And then I'm just going to go inside these gray, sort of crusty, dry lines that the leaf has on it. Okay, now let's move on. There's this one. This is Sap Green Deep. And Sap Green, it can be so many different colors, like this Sap Green, for example. Oh, this is the Sap Green, sorry, that one is Hooker's Green. But this is the Sap Green. So it's a little bit, the leaf is a little bit duller than this, I would say. So I'm going to mix my own, and I'm going to use this palette that I generally use for big paintings. So there's another source of colors for me. And I've already got a bunch here that's already mixed, and it just needs to be wet and revived. So that's what I'm going to do this with, which is a pretty good approximation of the color of the leaf itself. And one thing I want to do is keep wet edges. So that means wherever there's an edge that's going to try and dry, I want to go in there and put some wet on it right away. If the paint on your brush is kind of on its way to drying, then you're going to get dry edges, and you're going to have to hurry in there and wet them in order to make them work out. Now, This has dried really fast, so I'm going to go over it again, and then we'll just pop this stem in here, like that. Okay, moving right along quickly. We've got the Japanese maple. I'm going to use the same color. A lot of these are the same color, it just so happens. And again, I'm not being very fussy about all those little jagged edges, because the ink actually defines the shape, and you don't really need to paint into every one of them. So I had a coffee this morning with a new friend. Okay, I'm just going to leave that for a moment and come back to it. And then this one, wow, that's a little bit more color than I want. They're actually not quite this color. Yeah, that's a little bit too bright, but let's see. I'll throw something else in there. It's a beautiful color though. It's kind of nice to have a slightly different green, because a lot of them are actually the same color. As it turned out, I tried to find some fall colored leaves, but there aren't any really yet, even though we're into October. It's been a slow fall. So what color is the stem on this little ball? Oh, different color altogether. So I'm going to paint that little character and pick the right color here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to just go right in with that. How fun is that? And then use that color with a little bit of orange for its part of the stem. So that works. Okay, and I need some more of this green for this other stem. And then all we have is the maple leaf, which is a great big one, which is a definite sap green. All right, now I could go back in here, add more detail to the leaves, and oh, I forgot that little guy. Let's see, it is this color on the tips, kind of that color, yes. And then, let me see, I'm going to use my little brush again, put in probably alizarin crimson for my stem. This is that purpley mix that I already had. And it's going to bleed into this cream color a little bit, but that's okay, because there's really not enough of the red for it to bleed that far. I think these are great, and it's so easy to do. Just go out in your yard or in your neighborhood or whatever, snip down some leaves and practice with them. And then you've got these beautiful things to look at right there. You don't have to imagine them. They're right there for you. And just use it to practice your drawing skills. You can use pencil and go over it with ink like I did, or just go straight into ink. Be sure to give it a try. Please subscribe to my channel, click the little bell so you get the notifications, click the like button because that actually does help, and I'd love it if you'd leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.